Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens. This is episode 142 of One on One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. We are here for another episode. As we enter week 5 of the NFL season, we got some power rankings for you. We got some stuff that we got to get off our chest. And we're going to talk about how things are going right now. We are officially a month into the season, and now we're just trying to figure everything out. And that's what we're going to do on today's episode. We're getting a little bit closer to kind of figuring these things out. We got some people in the top 10 that's surprising people in the top 10. We got some people in the mix in the outside looking in. And of course, they got the bottom. And the bottom has a new person at the bottom. So it gets interesting. But let's go ahead and get the party started. It's one on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, episode 142, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Let's get started.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Yeah. We are here, episode 142 of One-on-One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. We're here for week 5, the power rankings, and kind of getting into this thing a little bit. The season, we're a month into the season, as we talked about in our intro, and we're starting to see some teams that are surprising. A team that surprised me last week is a team I had a chance to go on the road and see as the Commanders took on those Arizona Cardinals, and what a win. But we'll get into that a little bit later. We're not going to hold on and talk a whole bunch of craziness. We got some amazing Thursday night football tonight from Atlanta as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take on the Atlanta Falcons, and it's a big division matchup early in the season where teams trying to gain some supremacy. Right now, the Bucs are 3-1. The Falcons are 2-2, and both teams are going to try to figure that thing out, and it's going to be a long haul. The NFC South is going to be interesting, and you got to throw the Saints in that mix. So we'll see. But let's go ahead and knock out the bottom. The bottom. We start here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are at the bottom of the heap this week. A 24-20 loss to the Texans. They played with a little heart in this one, but it just wasn't enough. And we saw a Houston Texans team kind of get their groove back after a tough loss to Minnesota last week. But now we see a Houston Texans team that's coming to play ball. And they did just that. C.J. Stroud, 27 for 40, 345 yards and 2 TDs. He looked good. Cam Akers in the place of Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce, the third running back, coming in there with 13 carries and 53 yards. And Nico Collins, who's having a really good year, 12 receptions for 151 yards and a TD. On the opposite side of things, you see Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence is struggling. 18 for 33, 169 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns. But the young rookie, Brian Thomas Jr., seems to be establishing himself as his number one receiver, 6 receptions, 86 yards, and a TD. Even with all that being said, the surprising team in the AFC South that is winless is the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I did not see happening. I probably had them finishing second in the division, but I still had Houston winning this thing. And it's still early in the season, but they've got to figure it out. And it's not looking good. And now people are calling for Doug Peterson's head, and rightfully so. Coaching wise, we don't want to see this man get decapitated. Let me clarify that. But rightfully so. Right now, Jacksonville's got to figure it out, and it does not look good. And they're already trying to make Cliff Kingsbury the next head coach down in Jacksonville. But that's a little premature on that end. But Jacksonville is 32. And they've got to find a way to get out of the hole. This week, Jacksonville will be taking on the Colts. another chance at a division opponent and another chance to get a dub, but we'll see. At number 31, the Tennessee Titans. Now, personally, I want to have Tennessee at the last spot, but they did find a way to get a win over the Dolphins. And you're probably saying, well, Darrell, they beat the Dolphins. How do you have them behind the Dolphins? Well, here's the deal. The Dolphins are the better team overall. Just missing Tua has really hurt them. And maybe, just maybe, I should have them there. But Tennessee is still a dumpster fire, even with the win. There's something about that team I just don't like. I got them at 31, but congratulations on getting that first win. It took Will Levis getting injured in the first quarter or first or second quarter, and then having Mason Rudolph come in and do good things. So that's what it took to kind of help propel to the victory. But it wasn't nothing super sexy on either end. But hey, a win is a win. Titans are at 31. At 30, the New England Patriots. They had to take on San Francisco. Not an easy task. They lose 30-13. You're starting to hear that Antonio Gibson may get the start over Ramon Stevenson this week because of the fumble issues that he's been having. So don't be surprised if the old commander is the man commanding in the backfield for the Patriots. They're at 30. At 29, the Carolina Panthers. Now, Carolina, I did pick them to win last week. I thought that they could sneak Cincinnati, and it was actually a decent contest. I felt like Carolina kind of held their own, and Andy Dalton, 25 for 40, 220 yards and 2 touchdowns and a pick. So it wasn't a miserable day. Chuba Hubbard, he had 18 carries for 104 yards and a TD, so he had a solid day. Deontay Johnson, 7 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. So solid days for the Panthers, but Joe Burrow and the crew was too much, and they were hungrily looking for win number one. Now, as you see, they're 23 on our power ranking because when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and those guys are going, they're a different football team, and they're still trying to figure it out. They're at 23. Of course, the Panthers at 29, but I like the fight that the Panthers are putting in the last couple of weeks. At 28, the Miami Dolphins probably shouldn't be here, but I'm really giving the benefit of the doubt because Tua is not there, and it shows. This team looks absolutely hard, and they just look miserable. Tyler Huntley is starting for them this week as he gets his second week under the helm there. I don't know how much more they can do of this. They might have to start looking into some options. I mean, Russell Wilson might be out there for the taking. I don't know, but they're going to have to figure something out soon. Miami's at 28. At 27, the Cleveland Browns. This team, major disappointment for me. I had them going, I believe, 12-5. So they would have to finish the season at this point 11-2, which the way they're playing, I don't see that happening. And they have been a major disappointment. Now they take on the Commanders this week, which, I'll be at the game, and I'm intrigued to see how they handle things this week. If the Commanders can continue to build off of all the energy they've had, or will Cleveland kind of sneak them? And Cleveland's not a bad football team. Yes, the record doesn't show that, but defensively, they are not a bad football team. Offensively, they haven't been able to get it going. So they've got a lot of things they got to figure out. And Kevin Stefanski kind of looks like things are falling apart low-key. Browns are at 27. At 26, the Los Angeles Rams. They lose to the Chicago Bears. LA's without their 2 top receivers, and it's showing. The guys are fighting hard. Tutu Atwell's doing the best he can. You got DeMarcus Robinson and those guys in there, but without Puka Nacua and without Cooper Kupp being able to stretch that field and just kind of cause havoc in the secondaries out there, it's been a tough goal for the Rams. So they got the Packers this week. Should be an interesting one from SoFi. At 25, the Arizona Cardinals. Big disappointment. First time for myself heading down there to Phoenix to State Farm Stadium. I've been to Phoenix before, but beautiful facility. Got to give the Cardinals a shout out. Their staff was amazing. They were really nice people. I'm not going to call that lady out because that's going to be crazy. I'm not going to do that on the air. She wasn't polite to me, man. She grabbed my ID, but I still did it anyway, right? Okay, cool. But besides her, I felt like the experience down there was absolutely amazing. And so shout out to the majority of the Cardinals staff and how nice they were to myself and my colleagues down there. But besides all that, just a terrible game for them. And the Commanders punched them in the mouth with a 42-14 victory. And I had the Cardinals winning that game because I thought, Kyler Murray and this team had played well in their games leading up. They hadn't lost any games by more than 7 to 6 or 7 points. They only lost by 6 to the Bills in week 1. They blew out the Rams, and then they only lost to the Lions by 7. So they were competing. They did not compete in this contest. And Washington really showed up and showed out. What Cardinals are at 25. They've got to figure some things out there in Arizona. At 24, the New York Football Giants. The Giants, what can I say about the Giants? They fought hard against Dallas. I thought they really put in a good effort. They had a chance to win it, but couldn't pull it off. They're still trying to find their way as well, but Malik Neighbors right now having amazing numbers. He has been worth every bit of that 6th pick overall. So shout out to Malik Neighbors. And maybe, just maybe, he can help Daniel Jones keep his job. At 23, the Cincinnati Bengals, we talked about them and what they've done so far in this season and the struggles in those first 3 weeks, especially after that Monday night game against the Commanders last week. A nice little bounce back against Carolina, but they're going to have to put a string of games together, and we'll see what they can do. The Bengals are at 23. At 22, the Chicago Bears. I didn't get to watch the full part of this game, but what I saw from Red Zone, it was a hard game to watch between them and the Colts. And it was just like, oh, excuse me, that was last week. That was last week's hardest game. My fault. I apologize. We're going back. But it was still a really rough game against the Rams. So they had a matchup against the Rams in a game that I thought the Rams would win. But Chicago did what they needed to do and got number 2 on the season. Caleb Williams threw, I believe, his first career touchdown pass. So shout out to Caleb Williams for getting touchdown number 1. Wasn't a sexy day for him. 17 for 23, 157 yards in the TD. But they still did enough to win the game 24-18. And, congratulations to Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. But they're at 22. At 21, the Vegas Raiders, who had a really fun contest against the Browns. It wasn't pretty, but it was fun enough that they were able to pull it off at the very end and get the win. The biggest thing right now with this Raiders team is the controversy surrounding Devontae Adams. Will he be there or will he not be there? Will he, be a Jet here in the next couple of weeks? Maybe a New Orleans Saint, but he did request a trade. And so now we're waiting to see where the cookie may crumble there for the Vegas Raiders and Devontae Adams. There's a small part of me would like to see him back in green and gold, but I digress. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom. This week, we got Jacksonville. We got the Titans. We got the Patriots, the Carolina Panthers, Dolphins, Browns, Rams, Cardinals, Giants, Bengals, Bears, and the Vegas Raiders. Oh, bottom, how art thou bottom? So there's the bottom for this week. There are a few teams in the bottom that I think could still kind of resurrect themselves. One being the Cincinnati Bengals. I still think they got time. The Rams are another team. I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, so I need them to figure it out. Maybe not so smart on my part. Even Jacksonville. Jacksonville has the talent, but they've got to figure it out now because the talk of them losing the locker room is crazy work, and they're going to have to figure that out quick. Well, let's go to the outside looking in. Outside looking in. And we start off with the number 20 team, the New Orleans Saints. They lose a 26-24 matchup to the Atlanta Falcons, who are ranked 12th this week. New Orleans, who started off hot after scoring 91 points in the first 2 games. A little bit of a cool-off in week 3. And in week 4, a battle against a division rival, which always is a fun one with them in Atlanta. I feel like they always have close games, but Atlanta was able to pull it off, especially after Troy Anderson's big interception for the pick 6. It was just a lot of good things that kind of happened in Atlanta's favor. The numbers weren't sexy on either side. Neither team threw touchdown passes. Kirk Cousins had 21 for 35, 238 yards and a pick. Derek Carr, 28 for 36, 239 yards and a pick. So the numbers eerily similar, but it just wasn't enough for Carr. but Kirk Cousins and the crew were able to find a way to get the win. So Saints are at 20, Falcons at 12. At number 19, we've got the San Diego Chargers. I can't help it. The Los Angeles Chargers. Boy, what's the nicest thing I can say about this Chargers team? Well, there ain't but so much I can say about them, other than they really fought in this game. But opportunities you can't just let pass. And this Chiefs team is dominant for a reason, and they're going to keep finding ways to win because they are the 2-time Super Bowl champions 3 times in the last 4 years. They're working on dynasty mode. So whoever is the team that beat them has to play a full 4 quarters against Pat Mahomes and the crew. It's going to be tough. Got the Chargers at 19. At 18, the New York Jets. Oh my God, this team is disappointing. They went into this game. I just knew they were going to, put the pedal to the metal. Now, there was a lot of rain, so a lot of people feel like that obviously had something to do with the way this game finished out. But the Broncos did what they needed to do and got themselves a 10-9 victory. And, Bo Nix's numbers not pretty at all. 12 for 25, 60 yards, and a touchdown. But it was enough. It was enough to help their Broncos team get win number 2. They are 2-2 at Bo Nix at the starting QB. And the Broncos are number 15 on our power rankings this week. At number 17, the Philadelphia Eagles. They took a pretty ugly loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know what the Eagles plan on doing to try to figure this thing out. On paper, this team should be good. On paper, this team should be really good. It's not happening. There's a disconnect somewhere. Jalen Hurts looks like he has regressed, which is not a good thing. Maybe not a ton, but it's just enough to where the guy that took the Eagles to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, this doesn't look like the same team. And since week 12, 13 from last year when they were 10-1, and they just started falling apart and won 1 out of their last 5 games, and they starting off rough this season, this team could easily be 0-4. Green Bay, I think, had some missed opportunities in their game in week 1. I think the Saints had some missed opportunities in week 3. This team's not that good. And so they're leaving the NFC East wide open for another team. We'll talk about them later. At 16, the Indianapolis Colts getting the win over the undefeated, or at the time undefeated, Pittsburgh Steelers. So a nice win by the Colts puts them at 16, and a little bit of a good thing going for them. But more importantly, Joe Flacco is back on the scene. Flacco has been an amazing backup quarterback, and when he's been thrown in, he's done good things. We saw with Cleveland last year. He comes in this one, 16 for 26, 168 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he helped this Colts team get a victory. It's something about Flacco, man. You got to give him credit. So the Colts are at 16 and moving up the charts. Of course, the Broncos at 15. At 14, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is a team that has, to me, yet to really get to where they could be. They are having struggles. They barely beat the Giants team, which in normal cases they would win, and you wouldn't think nothing about it. But they struggled. They truly struggled, in my opinion, and the Giants hung in there, and they almost had a chance to get the upset last Thursday night. But it wasn't enough, and the Cowboys continue their winning ways against the New York Giants. Cowboys are at 14. At 13, the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay could be lower on this list. The way they played in that Vikings game made me throw up in my mouth. They were down 28-0 at one point. Right before the half, they scored a touchdown. And it still looked grim. But in the third quarter, they went into the fourth quarter. Well, I say in the third quarter, both teams were scoreless. In the fourth quarter, 28-7. And the Packers made a run. They scored 22 points in the fourth quarter. And, a couple of missed field goals may have sealed their fate. They ended up losing that one 31-29. And they still have to – I see a lot of potential. I know we talked about it last year on that Packers team. They're better than what they've played in some of these games this week, and it shows. Like, they can score on you quick, and the talent is there. But when they put it all together, they look really good. So, and shout out to Xavier McKinley with his 4th pick of the year. That's 4 interceptions in 4 games. The man is on pace to have 18 picks this year. 17 picks. So we'll see. Packers are at 13. At 12, the Atlanta Falcons getting their win over the Saints. Kirk Cousins and the crew. Shout out to them. And number 11, the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers with a 30-13 victory over the New England Patriots. Did it pretty easily. Really wasn't a contest as they get win number 2 on the year. And they're just knocking on the door trying to get back into that top 10. With that being said, here it is. The outside looking in. Saints, Chargers, Jets, Eagles, Colts, Broncos, Cowboys, Packers, Falcons, and San Francisco 49ers at the top of the outside looking in. We're getting close. It's time to go ahead and knock into that top 10 and find out who is getting closer and closer to number 1 this week. All right, so here it is, our top 10 for week 5, or heading into week 5. At number 10, the Baltimore Ravens. A very impressive victory over the number 17 Buffalo Bills. And Darrell, you'll be like, wait a minute, they beat them. I understand that. We're getting to the point where the records are going to switch things up here in the next couple of weeks. I'm getting, finally getting an establishment. But for now, the Ravens are still trying to crawl out. I got them at 10. And Derrick Henry's performance, 199 yards on 24 carries and 2 touchdowns total. Just a great performance. If they can get that from Derrick Henry, majority of this season, they're going to be a very, very tough cookie. They still need to figure out, in my opinion, what's going on with Mark Andrews. Something just ain't right. And they are missing out on one of the best tight ends in the league. And I don't know if it's over for him right now. I don't want to do that to them, but they've got to figure it out. Ravens are at 10. Number 9, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another team that probably don't deserve to be in this top 10 after the way they perform. Well, they fought hard against the Colts, but for now they're in the top 10, and next week everything changes where, we're going to be looking at this in a different perspective. After this first week, we'll get a feel of where these teams kind of stand. So, but for now, they're 9. Even though they may not deserve to be 9, but we're going to put them at 9 for now. At number 8, the Seattle Seahawks, another team. They had a tough outing against the number 3 team on this countdown as the Lions. But the last couple of years, these 2 teams have went at it, and then they put it on the stage on Monday night. But the Lions kind of handled things for the majority of that game. They were in a pretty good spot, and Seattle did the best they could, but it just wasn't enough. They're at 8. At number 7, the Buffalo Bills, another team that lost here. All 3 of these teams were in the top 5 last week. And this week, as you can see, they've been knocked down the totem pole just a little bit. Buffalo, they got to fix some things. Maybe looking for Devontae Adams. Maybe you go find that guy. I don't know, but they've got to fix some things. It did not look good against the Baltimore Ravens last week after that 34-10 beatdown. At number 6, the Washington Commanders, the highest they've ever been on my power rankings. The Washington Commanders are knocking on the door being in the top 5. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. But that's what it is. The Commanders are playing great football. They're playing great football, and I can't take that away from them. They are knocking on the door to get in that top 5, and it's a possibility. I mean, they've got some tough teams ahead of them, but it's a possibility. Shout out to Jaden Daniels, who's, I believe run the Pepsi Rookie of the Week the last 3 weeks. He's got 3 championship belts on his arsenal right now. He's been phenomenal. He has been phenomenal. And they continue to just really do some good things. So shout out to Washington. See what they do this week against Cleveland. See if they can continue their winning ways. At number 5, the opposite of Baltimore. At number 5, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, nice win over Philadelphia, doing what they need to do. Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, right now is playing some pretty impressive football. 30 for 47, 347 yards, and 2 touchdowns. With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on your side, you can't go wrong. I really like this Bucs team, and they could be a team that makes a lot of noise in the NFC if they make the playoffs this season. At number 4, the Houston Texans. We talked about their win over the Jacksonville Jaguars and how C.J. Stroud and the crew were doing good things on their end. They're at number 4. At number 3, the Detroit Lions. And we saw them get their nice victory over the Seattle Seahawks in their contest, 42-29, and a really solid day for Jared Goff. He went 18 for 18, 200 and 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. You can say solid, maybe a little perfect on that end. Jamar Gibbs had 14 carries for 78 yards, and Jameson Williams had 2 receptions for 80 yards and a TD. It was a really good day for the Detroit Lions, and they pretty much handled things. Seattle tried to make some run at the end, but it just wasn't enough. So shout out to the Lions. They're at number 3. Now, they've been number 1 before on this power ranking, and they're trying to get back to that point. Let's see if they can make it happen this year. At number 2, another team that's been number 1 at least once on this power ranking in the last couple of years, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. 4-0, winning against the Packers 31-29. It was a game where Sam Darnold continues to impress. And if you're the Vikings fan, if Sam Darnold can keep this going, do you even need J.J. McCarthy? I mean, it's going to be good for J.J. to kind of sit back there and learn. But, man, the way Sam Darnold is playing right now, it is going to be hard to let, just that maybe next year say, all right, McCarthy, get in there. No, not the way Sam Darnold is playing. He's playing great. And people forget that Sam Darnold was a top 3 pick in the draft, in his draft class. And so he's playing like that right now. So shout out to Sam Darnold. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, who was number 1 in that draft. Those guys are finally truly living up to that potential. They've been working on that thing, and they're looking good right now. But the Vikings are at number 2. At number 1, last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs. It was an ugly game against the Chargers, but they were able to pull it off, winning 17-10. Pat Mahomes, 19 for 29, 245 yards and a TD. Kareem Hunt coming off the street, this week, and 14 carries for 69 yards. So that gives him stability as he comes back home to the team that drafted him. And so it's different to see, but shout out to Kareem Hunt and welcome back to Kansas City. Travis Kelce, 7 receptions for 89 yards. So he's kind of getting into his groove, but we'll see where it leads. So here it is, the top 10 for week 5. Heading into week 5, we got the Ravens at 10, the Steelers at 9, the Seahawks at 8, the Bills at 7, the Commanders, left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders, ladies and gentlemen, at 6. At 5, the Buccaneers. At 4, the Texans. Then we have the Lions at 3, Vikings at 2, and number 1 for the 4th. Well, I guess this would be the 5th week. I always get it mixed up, but they've been number 1 all season, the Kansas City Chiefs. No one has knocked this team off of the top of the mountain. We'll see how it goes over the next couple of weeks and see if that will change. Well, here we are. We're about to finish this thing up. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to enter the finale. All right. So we enter the finale. And, of course, we got to hit y'all with our segment. It's time to find out about our Kings of the Gridiron for week 4 of the NFL season. Let's see who they are.
Let's get ready to rumble! Who won war in the ring? Who won war with the king? Bring all the balls you can bring. It ain't gonna cost you a thing. You ain't bring the sauce to the ring. You was send the sauce in the ring.
Hello, everyone. Darrell Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network, 101, and it's time for this week's King of the Gridiron. This one is for week 4 of the NFL season. Another great week of the NFL, and we got 2 more Kings of the Gridiron for you. Our first King of the Gridiron comes from the offensive side of the ball, Mr. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry last week had an amazing week. 24 carries, 199 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One coming on a big run, and the other coming on a nice swing pass for a touchdown from Lamar Jackson in a 34-10 victory over the Buffalo Bills. When King Henry is on like this, he is hard to be stopped. And when he's hard to be stopped, the Baltimore Ravens will be hard to be stopped with that dynamic duo of Lamar Jackson and King Henry. So Derrick Henry is our offensive King of the Gridiron for week 4. And now our defensive King of the Gridiron for week 4, Mr. Troy Anderson, linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. And what a day Troy had in their 26-24 victory over the New Orleans Saints. He gets 17 tackles on the day and takes one back to the house on a pick 6. And it was what was needed to help this Atlanta Falcons team propel themselves to victory to get their second win of the season. So Troy Anderson, our defensive king of the gridiron. There it is, our kings of the gridiron for week 4 of the NFL season. We got Derrick Henry, the offensive king of the gridiron, and Troy Anderson, the defensive king of the gridiron. We'll see you all next week for week 5, Kings of the Gridiron. There they are, our kings of the gridiron, Derrick Henry and Troy Anderson. Shout out to them for getting their Kings of the Gridiron award this week for Players of the Week in week 4. Derrick Henry snags his second. He is now a part of the 2-time Player of the Week categories here on 101, and there's like a 8-way tie. So nobody's broken into that third one yet. We'll see if that happens this season. Our MVP candidates. Number 1 for me right now is Sam Darnold. You know, Mahomes has been my number 1 the last couple of weeks. It was kind of by default, but Sam Darnold has played amazing football. So for me, he's number 1 on my power rankings for MVP. And the way he's playing right now, he absolutely deserves it. I hope he can stay healthy. The professional in me hopes that he can stay healthy. Don't want him to get hurt at all, but I don't want him to do phenomenal against one team, and you know who that is. At number 2, Baker Mayfield. It's just amazing to see that quarterback class is finally coming into fruition. And I'm happy to see them do really good things. So Baker Mayfield is number 2. Number 3, Pat Mahomes. He's still, undefeated and got the cheese rolling. Derrick Henry, after his performance last week, leads the league in rushing. He has been a monster so far this season for the Baltimore Ravens. And 5, Aiden Hutchinson right now, who leads the league in sacks with 6.5 sacks. Those are our top 5 MVP candidates heading into week 5. Now, our NFL experts for week 4 in our NFL Pick'ems League. Joey, 11-5 on the week, and then Joe, 11-5 on the week. So Team Joe and Joey making things happen and getting 11 wins apiece in a week where we've seen the experts continue to struggle. This first part of the season has surprised everyone, and no one has been able to quite figure that thing out. But Joey and Joe have had really good runs so far. And I mean, not forget about Katie and Victor and Cody. They've done well as well. As you see there, Katie, 40 wins on the season, only has a 1-game lead over Joe. Joe's on the heels. Russ is a couple games behind there. Jay 7 games behind. And you got Ty, Rob, and then you have Larry there at the bottom. Larry's not happy about that, being in last place overall in the league. I know he's not thrilled about that, and I know that's something that he's going to want to fix. Then we head to the Legends division. Your boy, look at your boy at the bottom. Oh, my God, this is a disaster. Last year, I was in the top 3 most of the season, and I have started off rough. But as you can see, your boy is at 500. These are good things. He's going to get there. It's going to get there. So you see Joey leading the way, 44 wins so far. Another great week for Joey. He's been pretty much the expert of the week, I think, every week, maybe except for one, but he's been killing it so far. Victor's at 2. Cody is right there with him. They're battling it out. It's been a fight at the top there. Lamont is in the mix. James in the mix. And then, it's still a tight division there. I mean, Joey's got a 12-game lead over me, but I will return. Those are our picks right here for week 5 and where we stand. The Lions, the Eagles, and the Chargers and the Titans are all on a bye this week. But we do have one Lone Ranger. And thank God for it, because I was getting worried when I saw that Packer clean sweep. God, I can't get my words out, y'all. But here it is. Larry, my man Larry, Lone Ranger pick this week. He's got the Rams over the Packers. I hope he is 100% wrong, and I hope he doesn't get this right. Just saying. Now let's head to tonight. Tonight, we got a big game. We've got the Bucks and the Falcons. I've got the Buccaneers winning this one 34-28. I just like what Baker Mayfield and his team is doing. The defense has been playing pretty solid. Even though they're in Atlanta, I think Baker Mayfield goes on the road and gets this win 34-28 over the Falcons. Now, I talked about my record, 32-32 on the season. I'm trying to get 13 wins this week, man. I got to get out of this slump. I definitely want to keep, try to build some distance away from that 500 record. So a nice, 11 or 12 win week would make me extremely happy. Of course, week 3, 6-10, last week 9-7. So still trying to figure that way. Haven't got a double-digit win total yet, but hopefully week 5 those things change. Now, my winners for week 5, I got the Bucks, the Vikings, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Patriots, Jaguars, Texans, Ravens, Raiders, 49ers, Seahawks, Packers, Cowboys, and Chiefs. Those are my winners going into week 5. All right, everybody, that's it. Episode 142 or 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, Aaron on the amazing Bowie Television. Another great episode of 101 is in the books. Next week, we'll come to you week 6, and we'll have episode 143 and some more power rankings to kind of see where these things are kind of landing. So we'll see if the Chiefs can hold on and keep that number 1 spot. Will the Vikings, jump and take that lead? Who knows? We'll find out all next week after this amazing week of football. Once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. I'm your man, Darrell Owens. This has been 101 on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and on Bowie Television. Make sure y'all go watch some football this weekend. Enjoy some football this weekend. Spend time with your families. Have a good time. We'll see you all next week.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.